is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today I've got 3 Gigapans to show you and a whole bunch of different things. They're all by the Perseverance rover, these objects. Some of them look like petrified remains or possible carvings. Some of them look like weird sort of grave markers. And we even have what seems to be some glyphs or some kind of carved writing on one of these rocks. Now this is the main one. This is Perseverance Sol 1603. Now the first thing I noticed was this weird thing here, because it's much blacker than everything else in the whole area. Unusually black, I would say. Look at this. Now when you see something like that that's that black on Mars, bear in mind it's almost twice as dark as this shadow under this rock here. Now when I do these Gigapans, I enhance them so that the shadows aren't black. They shouldn't be black. They should be slightly transparent. You should be able to see into the shadow, like under this rock here. So you can still see that rock there go into the shadow there, right? So it should be sort of dark grey, really. And this object is like twice as dark as that. 2 times darker than that. It's completely black and you can't see anything in it. And it's got this weird thing sticking out here, right? Now, I don't know if that's anything significant, but then I noticed that next to it, over here, we got a group of what seemed to be rocks initially, but when you look at them, they're not. We have here, on the right, we have what looks like a petrified head or possibly a carving of a humanoid, just there. You can see 2 eyes, there's the bridge of the nose coming down, and a funny upturned mouth there, with a lip there, but it's really odd. And then there's this boulder in the middle, and next to that seems to be what looks like the head of a sort of reptoid or something, or dinosaur or something like that, a dinosauroid or something similar, right? And it's resting on this boulder here, okay? Then there was this. Now, this is a Gigapan I redid just yesterday. In the initial version of this Gigapan that I did, it was too bright and the shadows weren't really dark enough, so I redid it and darkened it. And then I thought, wow, look at this. A rock with what seemed to be letters and symbols carved into it. Now, it's heavily eroded and damaged, like many of these things are. But if you look at it closely, you can actually see that there's some symbols here, okay? There's a strange sort of carving here, and then we got symbols going up here, right? Now, it's a bit hard to see them, and what I'll do, I'll show you a clip of that in a minute, and they stand out better in the clip I've taken because I've darkened it a bit more, right? The key with glyphs that I found on Mars, they're usually on upstanding rocks which are quite flat on one side, and then you can actually see where they've been chiselled out. Now obviously this is broken and is heavily eroded like many of these things are. To get these things to stand out, you've really got to push the contrast in the image to get the shapes and shadows to show. This is from Sol 1599, and now this thing looks like a little gnome or some kind of little figure, like a figurine. It may not be, but I've done a 3D image of this, and it's next to this one here. Now this looks like a weird sort of marker or something, and it has, if you look really carefully, there's a little person carved on the front of it there. But it's really small. It's quite a long way off, right? This is a huge Gigapan, this one. This took me ages to sort out this because there are so many images. I've done a sort of 3D set of this where I got the left one and the right one, and I cropped them the same size, and you can flip between them and you get a 3D image. But if you look really carefully, on this one, you can see like a little head and a little body and a leg, like a little person there, or at least something similar, okay? And then we got this weird little gnome-like dude just here, right? So I'll show you that first because that'll be nice and quick. Here's the 3D my attempt at a 3D image. Now this is the left and this is the right. And I carefully cropped them the same size and everything, lined them up, which is not actually very easy to do. But when you flip between them, you get a 3D image if you do it quickly like that. And now you can actually see that little figure there. You've got a head, arms, and the leg, or legs, kind of knees sticking up there. Okay? But look at this thing. It's got like a pointed head. You can see an eye just here, just there. And then a nose sticking out. And then a chin with a mouth. This, I think, is an arm. And you can just about make out, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's fingers and a thumb there. Okay? It's really odd, and it's quite stylized. It's like a sort of garden gnome or something. It's really odd. And it's got this weird detail behind it, like it was attached to something. It may have been attached to this here and broken off or split. It looks like it might fit onto this thing here, on the side of it here, which is out of view, maybe. Okay, because it's got the same colour and luminosity. It looks like the same object that's split in half. Okay, but let's do that again. If you flick quickly, you get a 3D image, but you've got to line these up really carefully. In this one, you can see the eye better just here. If you look where my cursor is, look where the point, the end of the point is there. There's an eye, okay, and then when you flick, it's better in this one, but it sort of changes slightly. See that? Different view. There we are. That's how you do a 3D image. Just here, there seems to be something carved, like a sort of pictogram or something, eroded and damaged. Here, there's like a G and a P and another P sort of weird shaped one there, and a sort of ovoid shape there. This is the masked left one, and this is masked right. This one's a bit closer, but you can see here we've got this upturned mouth. You've got like a very strange bridge to the nose coming straight down like that, and 2 eyes. So here it is, the negative already done, and look at the eyes, and then look at the mouth here, upturned mouth with a sort of jagged kind of like bottom lip sticking up there, just there. Really stands out in the negative, right? I've shown many exposed burials on Mars over the years now. Many, probably 30 or 40 or 100 or something like that, where you get groups of things together which look like they're arranged and may have been part of a burial. There may have been a mound over this may have been covered up. Some of these slabs you see lying around may have covered up and formed like a dolmen, where you have stones kind of leaning together and then one on top. To protect it, like a primitive burial dolmen like you get on Earth. So when you see flat slabs like this, you've got to think, is that natural? Was this used as part of a burial dolmen? Were these kind of like arranged around like a burial, or stacked together, leaning together? This may explain why some of them seem to have what look like glyphs or emblems carved into them like this here. I think a lot of these things we see on Mars are literally 20 to 30,000 years old. They're not 2 million or 5 million or 10 million years old. Some of them are, and I actually think the main cataclysm, ignoring the nuclear war which may have happened before, there was probably a cataclysm a lot more recent. Some of these slabs could have been leaned up over some of this stuff perhaps, and this may have been covered up. A humanoid head here on the right, and a non-humanoid head here on the left, with a very clear eye, this eye just here. Now, I haven't altered this in any way. In fact, I've got the raw images in here, right? Let me show you the raw image of that to prove that it's there. This is what they look like raw, very hard to see anything. In fact, these actually hurt your eyes. And I work with these images so much, I get a lot of eye infections and terrible eye problems because you get like a sort of form of snow blindness. Because the luminosity is so bright, they're super like bleached out and very, very bright. So this is what I do. First thing I do is darken it right down to about 40-ish. Contrast just about 1 or 2 or 3. Then it goes very red. Then you've got to add quite a lot of blue in, around about 37, 36, 35, something like that. Now it's gone quite dark. It's still quite dark. Let's brighten it up. Add some brightness. Desaturate it, because when you darken things, the colours go very deep and a bit sickly. So you've got to desaturate by about 18 or 20, like that. Let's change the hue a little bit to make it slightly yellower, like that, just a little bit. That's what I do. This is what I normally do with these images, right? Let's take the brightness down a bit. Let's turn the contrast up a bit. And there, you can see those details. You can see that humanoid head there. Actually, it's a bit dark. Let's go brighter. There we are. And you can see this reptoid kind of thing here resting on this boulder. What are these things? Are they burial markers? Are they some kind of just art? They're just there, and there's nothing near them, right? It's just standing there on their own. Like weird, like standing stones, okay? So when you see something like that, you're going to think, why are they there? When you see groups of rocks, you think, okay, they're all parts of rubble that have kind of rolled down a hill or something. But when you see standalone stones like this at funny angles like this, which look like they're split in half, you've got to question what they are and think, are these standing stones? They look like they've been placed there. Never stop asking questions and never accept what you're told by the authorities, because they're not on our side. Thanks for watching, everybody. Clips coming up now.